world. The weather outside is not that cold, and if you take my hand, I'll walk with you to Georgia.
Hello and welcome to Country with Celine. I am your host, Celine Shamarky, and on today's show, we have country singer Shantaia.
We don't need a reason, we're just kicking out the weekend, getting our chill until the night is long, gonna do it all over again.
She released her highly anticipated EP called Chapter 1 last April, and it exceeded all expectations. So Shantaia, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. The sun is shining in Nashville, and we endured some rain the last couple of days, so I'm just happy that the sun is shining.
Yes, it always brightens your mood when the sun is shining, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It makes me want to actually get out of bed.
Oh, hands down, 100%. Okay, now before we dive into Chapter 1, you have a new single that came out, and it's Had a Good Weekend, and oh gosh, it is a complete cottage banger, summertime banger. You're going to want to blast this in your car. So how are you feeling?
I'm so overwhelmed, actually. The other day, we have it at Canadian Country Radio. I can't talk, obviously, but we have it at Canadian Country Radio right now. We actually released it February 26th, so we kind of got a jump start on everybody's summer jam. And especially in Nashville, things start warming up around that time. So I was just like biting at the bit to kind of release it and get it out there, and kind of forgot that Canada was still cold, walking in the snow. But I think it kind of worked in my favor. It just we've got radio adding it like crazy, and actually officially broke the top 60. And we're on our way to top 50, fingers crossed. We had a couple more ads from some stations in Alberta, and we're fingers crossed for a top 50, my first top 50. So very exciting. And this song has just exceeded my expectations. I just did not ever know that this was going to happen. So it's crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, fingers crossed for the top 50. It will happen. If you say it will happen, it will happen.
Manifesting it, all the energy.
That's what we got to do. We always got to manifest. I love it. This year really opened my eyes to manifesting. And I mean, it's so true. It really does work if you truly believe in it and put your positive energy out into the universe and say what you want. You get it in return.
I would say the exact same thing. This past year has totally been like that for me too. Is just putting it out there into the universe. And I was working with a mindset coach with music specifically, and we were talking about money. Money is such a big topic, not only just in the music industry, but just everybody's world. And there's that stigma around artists always being broke and all that kind of stuff. And I was kind of there too. The pandemic hit me, and then this, and I was like, no, I need to change this mindset. And she really helped me. Money goes, money comes, money comes, money goes, and money comes back. And so when I started doing that, it just the world just kind of responded. So I've been doing the same thing with my music, just hey, we're going to put this out there and it's going to do great and it's going to be awesome. So manifestation, I'm all about it.
That's awesome. You had a mindset coach that helped you through that. I feel like sometimes that's what people do need, because it's really hard to kind of think like that without the motivation behind you or from someone telling you got to think this way, because you're always so negative on yourself, especially like we said in a time like this.
Yeah. We're our worst critics, we critique ourselves so harshly and can get down on ourselves, especially in a freaking pandemic. How are you supposed to stay happy and stay positive and stay feeling like the world's going to get back, and that your world is going to get back on track. So I've been working with Joe Jansen for a couple years, maybe just under 2 years, and going into that pandemic, it was really good to have her coaching us through that.
Yeah, of course, you need that, especially during the time like this. But Nashville is finally getting back to normal. I wish I was there. But
I wish you were here too. I keep telling everybody back home, come here, get vaccinated. They're just, they're getting everybody vaccinated here. There's probably so many vaccinations going to waste because there's a certain percentage of the population here that is very against it. But it's just nice to see people without masks now. Like you're seeing everybody's smiles and it's weird. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little weird, but it's very exciting.
Because you're so used to seeing people like this. You like kind of forget that they even have a mouth and a nose because all you see is their eyes. And then when they take off, you're like,
even us. Like we got used to like not putting lipstick on or just like all those kinds of things, or just not even putting makeup on, just kind of doing the eyes and the lash, like the brows and walking out. And now I'm like, oh yeah, like I kind of, you know, have to do myself up.
But honestly, I would take that over the mask situation, like up here in Canada, any day. But we just hope for the best. Hopefully here, I'm in Ontario, so hopefully everything subsides and we can
pray for Ontario. It sounds like it's been crazy there.
It's like a horror movie. I could talk for hours on like how life is in Ontario right now because it's brutal. But I'm going to try to stay positive, and that's a story for another day.
Manifestation, yes.
Yeah. We don't want to get into that. That's like that will bring down our mood completely.
We're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, so just have some faith. We're getting there.
Exactly. Okay, so now let's get back on the music. So chapter 1, as I was mentioning, your EP was released in April. Take us through the whole process of that.
Wow. It was a long process, and I'm very grateful for. It was very eye-opening, and it was definitely a roller coaster ride. A lot of ups, lots of downs, but the music turned out exactly how I wanted to. Like, I don't listen back to the songs at all and think like I'd change that or I'd change that. You know, I'm so proud of all of those songs, and I wrote 2 of them, and the other 2 were pitched. And I just through that process, even just getting songs pitched to me, I've learned that I respect those writers, but I want to be in the writing room. You know, it's one of the biggest takeaways I think I took from chapter 1 is just wanting to be my own voice and sing, you know, say what I want to say. I connected to those songs completely, especially I Wish You Would. Like, actually, both of them. Paper Town and I Wish You Would were both songs that I could say I deeply felt, but I would have loved to be, you know, the one writing it. So, yeah, that's definitely one of the biggest, like, takeaways I think I took from it. But it was 3 years in the works, maybe a little bit longer than that. And finally, I just said, enough waiting. And even though there was a pandemic that hit, we released I Wish You Would in January to DSPs, and then we were set to release it to radio on March 13th when like Juno shut down everything, then the world just seemed to collapse. And my team was like calling me and texting me being like, do you still want to do this? And I was like, yeah, like I'm done sitting on it. And I know a lot of people retracted their plans and they you know, cut things and they decided not to release and wait. But I'm so glad that I just put it out there. I think it worked in my favor. And I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change anything for the world.
Sometimes you just got to take that leap and just like hope and wish for the best. And it exceeded all expectations, like I said. So it was good. It was good. Yeah, no, I mean, like everything too happens for a reason. I think I've said this in like every single interview that I've ever done, but it's so true. So, I mean, if you were to hold on to that and just not have released that to the public and then decided to release it, let's say in October of 2020 rather than April, it could have affected everyone so differently, right? So
totally. And I think it also just, music is so subjective and like it's what we need in the moment. And when we hear something, we relate to it. And I just think that everybody's journey, you know, like you said, everything happens for a reason. So my journey, you know, putting I Wish You Would out at the time that I did might have really helped somebody that needed it right then and there. Or, you know, just that's how I try to think of everything. It's maybe not so much about me. It's like who might have I helped through a breakup or something that they were going through. And you know, if I hadn't have released it at that moment, somebody might not have heard it when they needed to.
Yeah,
so
yeah. That's what music does. As soon as people can hear a song, they connect to it right away. It can change like their whole life. It can change their mood. It can change and affect them in so many ways. And that's why listeners like myself, but you're also a listener as well too.
Yeah, totally.
But I mean, we thank artists like that who can actually release songs that connect so well with people who just want to listen to them. So thank you for that.
Yes. You know, it's not like always the easiest process, and it takes a lot of money and time and effort and working with the right people to actually be able to release music. I know a lot of people who can't afford it or don't have the resources to do it, and it's so it's a blessing to be able to actually put music out into the world, and good music, you know, like we take pride in what we do, and we want it to sound the best it can. So I'm lucky that I had the resources and the option to actually put that music out.
No one understands like how much of work goes behind like albums and songs. Like there is a lot of money involved. I've been really eye-opening to that whole scene, how much money is involved behind that, how much time, how much effort. It's a whole process. It really is. And it's like any job out there. It's just, it takes time consuming. You work at it, you got to keep going, and it takes a lot of effort out of you. But if you really truly love that, you're just going to keep on doing it.
Exactly. I was actually on the phone with my brother the other day, and I was buying a lottery ticket here for my other brother, and it was for 250 million. He was like, oh, I'll give you 20 mil. And I was like, great, I can release 20 songs to US radio. And my other brother was like, what? And I was like, yeah, it takes like $1 million to release to major market in the States, like to hire the whole team and put it all out there. And I know because I've got a lot of friends that have told me that that's what it costs them. And it's crazy to think that, but it's a huge market. The States is massive. So yeah, it's crazy.
That's nuts.
I'm not going to be doing that anytime soon unless I win the lottery.
Unless you're like some Justin Bieber who's like,
somebody just discovered me on YouTube already. Usher, come on.
Where's Scooter Braun when you need him?
Right? I know.
And now, Shantaia, okay, so you were the youngest recipient to ever receive a 10K20 grant from Ralco, I think
Ralco Radio,
yeah, I'm pretty sure I said that correctly. Okay, at age 13, and that was to record an 8-song album featuring all original music. And in 2016, you released your first song, "Crave You," and then "Girl Like You." That came along as well. Which had success, and then you landed a concert tour across Western Canada. So 13 years old, and this all happens, like, okay, explain. How is your life? How was your life then? Like, how did?
Oh my gosh, that's a loaded question. I was put into music, launched into it at a very young age. My parents put me in singing lessons as young as 3 years old, and then my older cousin Riley, he's about 5 years older than me. He was doing the whole country music thing and I feel like he did even more than I did at that age. Just, he was like, 10 to 13, traveling all over Canada, entering competitions. And he was on Canadian Idol for like the, live auditions and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like I followed in his footsteps, and he taught me how to play guitar at 6. And by 9, I was, putting pen to paper and writing songs. They weren't good, but I was writing songs. And I honestly don't even really know how it all happened with the Ralco Radio thing. I think my parents kind of helped me like fill out an application. We heard about it on the radio, and they were giving $10,000 to 20 recipients, and they actually ended up expanding the program over a course of like 4 years, I think. So it was just a huge opportunity for Saskatchewan artists to get into the studio, and $10,000 can, go a long way if you budget it correctly. And I was the youngest recipient to ever receive that. So I always say that moment, like going into the studio and working on my own music, was like the moment that I was like, okay, I want to do this for the rest of my life. And I came to Nashville when I was 18 and recorded "Crave You" and "Girls Like Me," and another one that actually never got released. I should try and find that one, but worked with Crystal Shawanda, and we released "Crave You" to radio first, and then "Girls Like Me." And honestly, it just has all spiraled. I wouldn't, want to be doing anything else. At one point, I thought about being like a lawyer or going in to be a vet, or I love horses, so I was like equine therapy or something like that. And I toyed with things, and I was like, no, I want to do music. So I actually used my like parents' college or university money to record Crave You Girls and Girls Like Me. So that was my first Nashville trip.
Oh my gosh, wow, what a story. But you had clearly the music in you when you were young. You were born to be in the country music or pop, whatever genre it would have been, you were born to be in the music industry. So that's a really interesting story. And now I have to also mention, okay, I saw this and I was like, oh my God, I probably would have fangirled, but I don't know if you did or not. You got to open for Kane Brown, okay, and Chris Long, okay, and Ryan Hurd. How did you fangirl? Like, I would have been bawling.
Oh my gosh, I was freaking out a little bit. But I think because I grew up in music and like, you know, I was meeting people at a really young age and networking at a young age, and my parents, I was also like the kid that was always sitting at the adults table, like chatting with everybody, being super mature and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I knew to like keep my cool and to be poised and professional and all that kind of stuff. But they were so humble, which actually made it even easier to be poised and humble and myself, just because they, you know, they invited me. They had their tour managers come and like invite me on their bus and sat down and chatted. Like, you know, Kane Brown and Chris Lane were so gracious. They were like, hey, come hang out, sit down, let's hear about you. Like Chris Lane especially sat with my band and just chatted with us for 30 minutes, like before his show, which for me, I'd be like, I wouldn't want to talk to anybody before a show because they would mess up my psyche before going on stage. But I guess when you're like that and you're touring all the time, you're just, you know what's happening and you just, it's second nature. But he was so cool. Kane Brown, I mean, I maybe fangirled a little bit about Kane because just like, hello. But, and I was quite a bit younger. I feel like I was maybe 19 when I opened for Kane Brown. So it's a little intimidating.
That's awesome. Then again, we have to remember that they're just humans like us. It's just, I guess it's their name that like really attracts us. Like, oh my God, it's so-and-so or it's so-and-so. But they're really just normal people like us. And they can either be down to earth or they can either be a snot, as there's probably a lot of artists who are like that as well.
I've met a couple of those as well. I'm not gonna lie.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna experience so many of those type of artists, right? But that's nice though that Chris Lane and Kane Brown are down to earth and just nice, humble guys.
I'm lucky that every single person I've opened for, Emerson Drive, hung out on their bus. That was more of like a party situation. And it was funny because they were the guys, I was actually just talking to Chris Buck about this because we were talking about when you go on tour with somebody or you open for somebody, sometimes they tell you like the parameters of your stage, like what you can and can't sing. And like, they're very like restrictive to what you can do. And I haven't had that experience so far. It's been, you go out there, you do your thing, and if you one-up us, well, I guess we've got to, you know, step our game up. And Emerson Drive is that kind of band. Like, they're so high energy that they're usually not very, like, intimidated by somebody taking over the stage and just giving it their all. And I remember one of the guys being like, you gave us a run for our money. Like, we had to step up our game. And I was like, good, I'm glad I did that for you guys.
That's nice though that band was like that. Yeah, I'm sure as soon as you start performing Had a Good Weekend up on stage, all the bands, all the people that you're opening up for are gonna be like, why did you do that? Like, why?
Right. They'll like exempt it from my set. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get to know you a little bit more. So where exactly did you grow up? You were saying Saskatchewan?
Yeah, so born and raised in Spiritwood, Saskatchewan. It's a northern Saskatchewan town. Lots of farming, lots of lakes close by. So I really spent my time riding horseback. My grandpa got me into horses young, and going fishing, like boating with my dad and all that kind of stuff. We spent a lot of time at the lake in the summers. And yeah, I mean, I kind of just had a really great upbringing. And you know, when I was 16, I moved to Saskatoon. And finished grade 11 and grade 12 there, which was one of the best decisions. I think it really made me, you know, kind of like aware of moving out of my comfort zone. And I think a lot of people have that, like, that restriction when they grow up in a small town because that's all they know and they can kind of be small-minded. I love my small town people, but you know, just some of my experience is like, you know, a lot of small-mindedness and moving out of that small town, like kind of just, you know, opened my mind up to everything and let me kind of decide what kind of person I was going to be, if that makes sense. Just on personal, you know, standpoints, you know, not even just music, but I think it kind of like kickstarted my like bravery to move to Toronto and then to move to Nashville. So I definitely, you know, loved that I just moved to Saskatoon and did it. And yeah, I've kind of been all over the place, I guess.
Moving out of like your hometown, like even a small town or even like Toronto, if that's all like, you know, since you were a baby, like making that step, that leap to like kind of move away from like your family, your friends, it's hard, but that's where growth happens. That's where like you actually become a strong, independent woman, that essentially, right? Especially for us girls, that's exactly how that happens, and it has to happen. And Saskatchewan, when you first said that, you want to know the first thing that came to my mind?
Grown-ups?
Grown-ups, yeah!
Dude, ever since I moved to Nashville, anytime I say I'm from Saskatchewan, there are some people that get the little twinkle in their eye, and I'm like, Grown-ups, right? Adam Sandler, and they're like, yeah, oh my God. And then other people that are totally like, they're just blank, like they're staring at me like, where? I'm like, well, have you seen that scene from Grown-ups where the hot guy walks up to the pool and he's like, Saskatchewan, and they're like, oh yeah, you're from there, and I'm like, yeah.
That's iconic though. That scene is so iconic.
Oh, it'll haunt me though.
It's funny though that when you go up to some people in the States and even in Canada, sometimes when you say like where you're from, they'll be like, oh, where is that? And then like you have to like kind of explain like, oh, it's this place. Like one lady in, I think it was Knoxville, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. My boyfriend went and she asked them, where are you from? And then he goes, Toronto. Then she goes, oh, it's a 15-minute drive from here. Like, no, it's not. It's not 15
No, it's not quite. I mean, it's also funny too because like here it's so close to drive places. Like, you know, you can get to another state in like an hour from here. And it's like for us from Canada, we're used to having to drive very far to get to the next like city, you know? So the other day I mentioned like, oh, Calgary, it's like a 6.5-hour drive from us. Like we'd go there all the time. And somebody looked at me and was like, why would you drive 6.5 hours to go there? And I'm like, because that's how far we have to drive to get to like the next major city. Mm-hmm.
It's such a drive, like to go from like one place to the other. Like from Toronto to Thunder Bay is a 16-hour drive. And like you wouldn't think it's that far, but it's freaking far. It's really far. That's like, I don't even know where that would be like driving from Toronto to maybe like Florida, or maybe not. Anyways,
probably just past Nashville, you know, because I think Nashville to Toronto is like a 12-hour drive.
Okay, wow, that's it. See, like to us, that's like nothing, but like to other people,
that's nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now you live in Nashville, and we were just chatting about it. I think last week you got a new place. So
yeah.
Everything.
Nice.
It looks so nice.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm like that. You know, when we talk about like that growth and becoming like your own person. Every time I moved somewhere, I was moving in with people, you know, becoming roommate to somebody else in their house, in their space, with their stuff. And this time, this was like a huge thing for me. My anxiety was like through the roof, though, like through the roof. But so like rewarding to get into your own place and have your own space, have your own stuff. I just got this couch the other day and like put it together myself, ordered it on Wayfair. This brown chair, ordered it myself, assembled it myself. Like, man, I feel like you said, like a strong, independent woman.
You're adulting. You are adulting.
Yeah. All my bills are paid. You know, I'm like, darn, I'm doing a good job here.
And I'm still living in my mom's house. I'm still here. Eventually, we'll get
perks to that too.
Okay, now Shantaia, musical influences. Who are they?
When I was younger, Martina McBride was my all-time. Just her Waking Up Laughing album was on repeat at a young age. And then I kind of, my parents would always get mad at me, but I started getting into the pop, like Hilary Duff and like, you know, Miley Cyrus and just all that kind of stuff. And my parents would be like, no, country music only. And I'd be like, no. And I'm really glad I did venture into pop, because I think a lot of those like pop influences now have like helped shape my sound in country. You know, country is my number one, and I don't think I'll ever leave this genre, but it's cool to see how diverse this genre has gotten. So, you know, Maren Morris, one of my all-time girls right now, very obsessed with Emily Wise Band right now. If you've never heard her, you need to listen to her. But yeah, I mean, Shania Twain growing up too, big influence in my music. I loved looking up to the brunettes in country music. You know, I think there were so many blondes that were like at the top of the food chain, you know, that, and I had a lot of people at a young age tell me that I needed to be blonde. Like I had like, let's be real, older, like middle-aged men, like telling me that, like, oh, if you want to go anywhere in country music, honey, you got to dye your hair blonde. And, you know, and just little things like that. And it really bothered me. So I'd be like, well, look at Martina McBride and look at Loretta Lynn. And, you know, there are brunettes in this business. So I think we're slowly getting back into seeing some more brown haired girls in this industry.
Yeah. It's just hair color too. Like seriously.
Exactly. It doesn't change whether I'm a good vocalist or a songwriter or not, you know? So, yeah.
At all. And country music, too, is really intertwined with pop now. Like, Kelsey Ballerini, even, like, Thomas Rhett, he was kind of, like, he was going there, too. And, like, Florida Georgia Line, like.
Kane Brown, yeah.
Right? Like, there is a lot of pop mixed into country, but I can see it slowly kind of transitioning back to, like, the old type of country music. Like Alan Jackson just released a new album, and like his title, I'm pretty sure, was Where Did Country Go? And it's like he like talks about all like the old like country, like, and he gets all into like all his songs are literally like how we used to release songs back in like the 90s, right? And I feel like it's getting back there. It is getting back there. And
what I love about country music today is that it's not maybe necessarily getting back there, but there's a lane for everything. Yeah. And it's like, hey, we're just gonna, you know, put some more into this old country soul, you know, lane, but there's still gonna be a lane for Maren Morris to, you know, be her country pop self, and Kelsey Ballerini to keep doing what she's doing. Because I think what's great about country music is we're a community and we're all supportive of like what your sound is and to stay true to that. And I think we're getting really good at like be genuine to yourself. Don't chase like just because it sounds like we're gonna get back to Chris Stapleton sounding, you know, Alan Jackson kind of music. Don't go like, oh, I guess I gotta change lanes and I gotta go over here now. I think if everybody just did what their heart made them happy, you know, like what made them happy is all that really matters.
You can't argue with that. Yeah, country music is evolving. You're 100% right. And I mean, it has to evolve too. We can't be in the 90s forever and the 80s forever, right? And it's 2021. Like, a lot of things have been changing if you haven't been paying attention to the news.
Yeah.
And now, okay, we're going to play a little game. I like to call it Country with Celine Rapid Fire before I let you go. I'm going to shoot you out a couple this or that questions, and then a couple actual questions, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay,
the first one. Since you're actually a Canadian girl, we're going to ask you this. Tim Hortons or Starbucks?
I'm sorry, I have to say Starbucks.
It's okay. That's fair. That's fair.
But I have my reasons. Like, just the taste is just there, and it's just stronger coffee for me. But I will say, since being here, I've been missing my Timmy's, like a quick Tim Hortons coffee or like a breakfast sandwich from Timmy's. The price point's much nicer.
so much nicer. You go broke on Starbucks every day.
Dude, I had a dream when I first moved here about a Tim Hortons opening up like downtown Nashville, and I was like trying to get in it, and it was like closed, and I was trying to open the doors, and they weren't letting me in. I was like, I'm Canadian.
Could you imagine? They should do that. Open up
Right.
one Tim's there. Come on.
And there's so many Canadians here. I'm surprised nobody has opened a Tim Hortons here.
That's really true. And even in Muskoka, just quickly, in Muskoka, there isn't a Tim's in like a certain amount of kilometers. Like usually, like you know where you are, there's a Tim's like everywhere, like every block.
Every freaking corner.
Yeah, there it was like there was one in like I'm really bad in math, so I'm not even gonna put a number on it, but in a really long miles away. If that makes sense. Night in or night out?
What's that?
Night in or night out?
Night in. I'm a homebody.
Okay, that's fair, especially in times like these. Rather stay.
Yeah.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Comedies or romance movies?
Comedy.
Comedies. Will Ferrell?
Will Ferrell, Adam Sandler. I was obsessed with Adam Sandler when I was younger. Like, I thought he was hilarious.
He
I don't know why.
is really funny. And he dresses like a normal guy. There's so many videos of him playing basketball with like random people. I'm like, imagine.
Amazing.
Yeah, right? Who's your celebrity crush?
I don't really have one. Okay, wait. Everybody would disagree with me. Brett Eldredge. I don't even know, just his voice and his blue eyes. Like, I would marry him just for those two reasons.
His song, Wanna Be That Song, or like Mean to Me, it's just like,
Oh. And have you listened to his, like, latest album?
which song?
Oh my gosh, I love how it just, I feel like he's gotten away from that pop country.
Yeah,
And he's doing what he wants to do, which I love, you know? So, and I just think he's like a Sinatra for country. I just love him.
he is. He's really good. And you didn't hear about him for a while, but now like he finally came back with that album. And
Back with what he wanted to come back with, so I condemn him for that. That's amazing.
yes, exactly.
You can hit me up anytime.
We'll add him in here.
Okay, amazing.
What was your first job?
Subway. That was my first actual hired job. I mean, I did a lot of things like in my hometown and like for my mom for her hairdressing stuff, but to be hired by somebody who like wasn't a family member.
Yeah.
Subway. I was a sandwich artist.
How many years did you work for Subway?
Only 6 months. It was my grade 11 going into grade 12, and like the summer going into grade 12, I just decided I wanted to focus on school and just I was really into my sports, so I was like, I want to focus on sports, be it every single practice, every single game for whatever I was doing in that season. And my parents were like, okay, this is your last year. You can't redo it. We don't want you to. So quit the job and do that. So yeah, and then a couple jobs after that. But yeah, sandwich artist.
Sandwich artist. That was the first one.
Yeah.
And if money wasn't an object, what would you do all day? What would you spend it on all day?
Oh, wow. Like, what would I buy if I just...
Yeah, if you had $3 million, $4, $5, $50 million, what would you do in a day?
Just buy so many clothes and boots and like like jewelry. I love, like, I just went shopping today and if I had all the money in the world, I'd just buy everything. I'd like probably buy an entire store and then just like give it away if I don't like it. Like, I'm terrible. I'm a shopaholic.
Girl, I am right with you. I buy clothes like no tomorrow, and then if I don't want it, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't feel like it, and just toss it.
Like it's in my closet. Yeah. The other thing is I'd buy a lot of guitars. I only have 4. I have 4, but one's back home still, and I would like decorate my walls with guitars.
So you would just buy guitars to decorate a wall?
I'd play them too, but I mean, I'd buy really pretty ones like gold and white and teal and just like decorate my walls.
I mean, if you're going to play with them, like, okay, yes, buy them. But if you're just going to decorate, how expensive are guitars?
I mean, it depends what brand you're buying. But if I wanted to get like a pretty Gibson or Larrivee, you know, they can get up to like $5-6 grand for a good one.
What the?
Yeah. My Larrabee, 10 years ago when I bought it was $2,200.
Oh my god.
And I was 13 years old. So
That's crazy. I think mine's a Yamaha. I just think I said Yamaha. And I don't even think it was close to that amount. I'm pretty sure it was like $400.
I was gonna say $300-400. Yeah.
It was like so cheap.
You can get some really cheap guitars for pretty nice, or buy secondhand and stuff. But if you walk into Long McQuaid or Guitar Center here and you want to buy the prettiest and the most expensive guitar, they can get up there. Oh yeah.
That's crazy. But I mean, I'm guessing they work really well. They sound really good when you start.
Oh yeah, you can't argue with the price when they sound like that.
Yeah, of course. You got a bedazzle guitar now too. I keep seeing that trend all over TikTok.
I know. I think Tennille Art started that one.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, it's so cool. I've seen so many people now do it. I'm like, that's awesome.
I don't trust myself. If I was gonna bedazzle a guitar, I would give it to Tennille and be like, "Hey, girl, bedazzle me a guitar," because I don't trust myself for it to look as good as what Tennille did. There's no way.
That's fair. Yeah, you don't want to screw that up.
No.
But thank you so much, Shantaia, for joining me today on Country with Kane. I'm so excited. And guys, if you live in Canada, the new summer song, well, even in America, because it's still summer there, it's not like it's Australia, had a good weekend, blast it, you're going to love it.
Yes, yay, Summer Jam 2021.
Yes, hopefully 2021 is a good summer.
Yes, I think it's going to be.
The neon lights.